Welcome back to another Sam and Max Freelance Police, the animated series episode review, where I just ramble on about this show. So, I just watched another episode. This one is the introduction of the character Lorne, the friend for life, aka Sam and Max's biggest fan within the continuity of the show. And I feel like this episode is a real step up from the previous two. I feel like I've been kind of meh or maybe a bit down on the show recently, saying, there's some funny jokes, but the episode doesn't come together, or, I didn't really think that jokes were landing in this episode, or stuff like that, or the structure was off, yada, 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 etc., etc., etc. You get where I'm coming from. But with this episode, I think this episode's actually a pretty strong one. It has a good structure to it. It keeps moving at a snappy pace. And I just overall think it's one of the better episodes of the show, at least in my rewatch so far. Maybe my favorite episode so far in the rewatch. Not my favorite episode in terms of the entirety of the show, but this one is definitely up there. I think the jokes were a lot funnier, the structure was a lot tighter, the story was a lot more clear-cut and fully realized, whereas before things could feel a bit meandering or bizarrely structured and weird. With this one, we have a good sort of pre-title sequence, then a little bit of setup, then a little bit of middle, and then the climax, and so it all comes together very well. So the plot of this episode is that Sam and Max start out trying to arrest the mad thespian, but then they're interrupted by Lorne, the friend for life, and he's very annoying. He's like this huge nerd, and Sam and Max they want to get away from him. Max is noticeably way less patient than Sam, and then it turns out that Lorne has kidnapped the mad thespian who Sam and Max were after in the first place, so now they need to go rescue their archenemy from their biggest fan. So I thought that was a pretty funny, humorous event in and of itself, and they definitely play it for enough jokes, I think. Maybe there could have been more that was done with it, but it's done well for the story that they're trying to pull. There's a line in this where Sam says, "An idle mind is the devil's," and for a second I thought he was going to say the devil's playhouse, and I was like, what? But he didn't say the devil's playhouse, he said the devil's monkey bars, and I was like, oh. So it's interesting because whenever you hear the devil's insert related to Sam and Max, you're gonna think of the Devil's Playhouse, but it's weird because this precedes it, and it's like, anyway. Just an interesting thing which crossed my mind and sort of caught me off guard in the rewatch. But yeah, that's about all I have to say about this episode. Some really funny moments. I especially love the gag where Max finally gets to pick up the phone, and instead of answering the chief, he instead gets Lorne on the line. So it's always funny when they can do a twist like that where, they can pull a different version of an old joke. So yeah, that's all I have to say about this episode. I hope you liked my thoughts. If you've seen it, then let me know what you thought in the comments section down below. Feel free to like or dislike this video, and subscribe if you want to stay tuned for my future Sam and Max reviews, since I'm going through every episode of this short-lived series. But yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you liked it, then check out the other stuff on the channel, and I hope you have a lovely day.